All right, what's up, Kaylin? How you doing?
What's up, man? I'm doing great. How are you?
I can't complain. First of all, appreciate you taking the time to do this, to come on the podcast and just chop it up.
So yeah, thanks for having me. This is exciting.
So I guess before we do anything, put you on the spot a little bit. You just introduce yourself.
Oh yeah, that's fine. My name's Kaylin Randhawa. I'm a D1 athlete, or I guess used to be. I ran out of eligibility this year. I started my career at the University of the Pacific in Stockton, played there for 3 years, went 1 year at Utah State, and then my last year here at Sacramento State. So just got done with that. On the side, I've also been doing my teaching credential. So I've been doing that at the same time. And yeah, it's just a little bit about me.
You have a pretty dope career. It's actually funny you said that because yeah, you are retired, I guess.
I know.
Is it
News.
is that like a weird thing for you to say or like a bittersweet moment?
It's super weird. It's super weird to say. Just yesterday, we were hooping, we were playing open gym, and it just like I was just sitting there with my teammates that are returning for next year, and I was like, I'm really just done. Like, I don't have another year to go. Like, you guys can still play. Like, it makes you feel old. Like, I'm not old. I'm literally 20. I turn 23 next month, and that's not old, like, at all. But it makes you
So young.
well old compared to like your teammates. I just kind of like think back to when I was a freshman and how young and like naive you are. You don't know what you're getting into. You think like the seniors are just like so old, and I'm like, oh, that's me now.
It's crazy because 23 is such a baby. Like it's such a baby age to be. You have so much, you have so long to go. But it's interesting because, like, yeah, in the college world, you would be older because you started at 17, 18. And
Mhm.
you're like in a unique place where I feel like not a lot of people use all their eligibility.
Yeah. Oh no, I knew I wanted to use my full years, the extra year. After Utah State, it was like deciding, do I want to use it? And I wasn't done. I knew I wasn't done. So after the year ended, I was like, okay. So I kind of took a chance, took a leap of faith, went in the transfer portal again, and then it ended up working out amazing. I feel like I kind of manifested this season a little bit. I hadn't really had any like top teams that I played for. I never was in a position to play for a championship or like got that far. And this year we did that. So I'm just truly very blessed to say the least. So
Now, you've had a crazy run, which we're going to definitely talk about that because I got a lot of questions for you.
for sure.
Um, and before we kind of just, give more context on who you are and like just some of your background. 'Cause I know I'm going to forget this, but the transfer portal. So I always see, I didn't play D1, by the way. I'm also from Canada, so we don't have that.
Uh,
Um, played university stuff, but it's still so different, right? So I always see people post like, "I'm entering the transfer portal." Like, what does that mean, and how does that work for you to go from one school to another?
yeah, I mean, it means like transfer portal is just like you're out, you're done with your old school. And for me, I had a very like different journey than most. Like there's a lot of reasons why people enter the transfer portal, and sometimes, not everyone really shares why. Like, you don't really truly know why someone's going in. It could be like it could range from coaches, it can range from environment, oh, they're homesick. It's so many different things. So for me personally, like there were just tons of different like factors that came into it. I of course like spoke with my family and took it into account and just weighed out all the different options. And both times I transferred, I just felt like it was the right thing for me at the time. So, yeah, I just followed my heart, trusted in God, and went with it. So, yeah.
Sometimes that's all you could do, and it looked like it worked out really well for you, so that's good.
Yeah.
Um, if we take a step back and go, you're 23, so I don't know, let's just go back like 15 years or something like
I'm
that.
22. I'm 22. I turned
Okay,
22.
sorry. Okay,
Yeah,
so
not
my
really.
fault. 22. Let's go back like 10 years, right, or wherever the case is. How did you get start? First of all, like, where are you born and raised from? And then when did you first start playing basketball?
Sure. Yes, I'm born and raised in Turlock, California. You probably have never heard of that. No one really ever does. If you've heard of Colin Kaepernick, though, it's his hometown.
Yes.
That Yes, so it's his hometown. So that's
Okay.
normally like, sometimes people are like, "Oh, yeah, I've heard of that," but It's a Central Valley little town, nothing nothing special about it, but it's my hometown. So yeah, born and raised there. I have an older brother and older sister, and they're the ones who actually got me into basketball. My actual first sport I played was soccer. So me and
Classic.
my siblings all played, yeah, like little youth rec leagues. Everyone does it. Yeah, that was me and my siblings. Soccer was our first sport. And they're both, like, a bit older than me, so my brother's 8 years older and my sister's 5 years older than I am. So, of course, like, they were entering, like, middle school and high school while I was still, like, a little kid, and so they started playing basketball for their school, and I was their biggest fan. Like, I was my mom me and my mom and dad would go to every game, and I was, like, in the stands cheering and screaming for them like it was freaking the biggest game of their life, like, and it's literally just like middle school and high school. So, of course, I got into it by watching them, and then we also had a basketball hoop in our driveway. So, my childhood house I grew up in, we had this really, like, the street is just huge, like, abnormally huge, so we had, like, all this space to play basketball, so we would just go outside and shoot. They're, of course, like, working on their game, and I'm just kinda out there doing whatever. Uh, so it wasn't until 4th grade, yeah, 4th grade was, the first time I actually kinda played and started actually, like, practicing and trying to get better at it because there was, the travel program. It was their first year starting, and so it was my brother's high school coaches. So they, like, began this organization, and so, of course, like, we went into it, I tried it out. I really enjoyed it. I kinda was a little bit more natural compared to others just because I'd been around the game so much, watching it and just playing outside with, my brother and sister. So it was fun for me, and then, I honestly didn't look back from there. Like, that was just the beginning, and then, yeah, I kept playing from there.
That's crazy. So obviously, I'm assuming this is an obvious answer, but are you the best in the family? You have to be.
No doubt, no doubt.
Yeah.
And
Okay. Yeah. No doubt.
they're gonna be
That's
like
always the easiest.
they're gonna be like, "Oh, who's the better shooter?" Yeah, 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 whatever. So I'm gonna be like, "Okay." But yeah. Mhm.
So I gotta pull this up because like I was not like researching but like looking up some stuff because the big thing for obviously us and obviously this is the Brown Ballers podcast, so I know you've been following we've posted you a bunch of times, and like main thing for us is like not only just uplifting the next generation but like really showing that we're out there.
Yeah.
Because and I'm sure you're a bit younger too, but like there's not like a bunch of people I'm assuming you're idolizing that are like high end brown athletes in the space,
Yeah, I mean,
right? Okay, yeah.
nah, I mean, you guys, I've been, like, in tune more because of your account and, like, who you guys post. I've learned so much more about, like, the different
That's huge.
people. Yeah, so
So yeah, so I appreciate that. So like obviously bringing you on is like first of all just showing that we exist and that we're out there and that we're doing like really dope stuff and killing it at the highest levels.
yeah.
But I got some stuff, so I'm gonna gas you up a little bit here.
Oh
So yeah,
gosh.
like, obviously you went to Pittman High School. I gotta read this because like I couldn't memorize all this.
No, yeah,
So
go.
you helped the team to 3 consecutive state playoff appearances. You averaged 14.5 and 7.7, but in your junior year was 16.3 points and 8.8 rebounds per game. They were already killing it in high school. You were the Turlock Journal Player of the Year in 2016, 2017. Hope this is bringing back some really good memories for you.
Yeah,
Your first team honors 3 times. Then you also played volleyball
I
for
did, yeah.
4 years in a row. Did you
Mhm.
do anything else in the high school days? Because that was a lot.
No, I just played volleyball. Oh, yeah.
So I think a lot of us grew up. First of all, congrats because you were killing in high school. And
Thank you.
obviously that helped you get to your next stages in college, which we'll talk about. I feel like so many of us in high school played multi-sport,
Mhm.
and a lot of us play basketball and volleyball. For
Yeah,
me, I like playing volleyball because you jump so much, so it helps your bounce.
yeah,
And it's just fun sport, like playing with the team and everything.
yeah, super
Did
fun.
you always know, like, because this also said you're really good at volleyball. So how did you decide, which one you're gonna pursue?
So, like I said, I started basketball 4th grade, and volleyball, actually, I tried out for the middle school team when I was in 7th grade. Never touched a volleyball before. I just wanted to try it because all of my friends, they played, like, club
Yep.
volleyball, so they were all playing it. So of course I was like, I'll try out too. Made the team, didn't start, and I was like, this is I would complain to my mom all the time. I was like, "Mom, I'm not starting." And she's like, "Kaylin, you've literally never played volleyball in your entire life. Like, all of these other girls have played club volleyball. Like, if you want to start, you need to practice some more." So I kid you not, I literally would like, I'd come home from school and I'd take a volleyball and I'm like practicing like off the wall and like serving it onto the roof and then it would like roll down off the roof and then I'd pass it and I would do that for like so long. And then by the end of the season, I was starting and I was like so proud of
There
myself.
you go.
I was so happy. I was like, that just shows you how competitive I am because it's not even the main sport. I could never touched it. And I was like, dude, we're not starting. This is lame, whatever. Um, so after that, middle school, like the first year playing, my parents like put me in club volleyball because all my friends were like, you should come play, come play. And I did that. I started out with this team called Turlock Crush because it was local. You know, we didn't really know much about club volleyball. So started out there. The following year, I actually played on the team that was a little bit more competitive that my friends played on. And we actually went to like the junior nationals and placed second for our age group. So like,
Wow.
yeah, so like we actually got a silver medal, which is really cool. Like I sometimes I like that's kind of crazy to think about, but um so from 7th grade I played club volleyball all throughout like until the end of high school. So I actually did have like schools reaching out to my high school coach about playing volleyball and I
Okay. Two sport athlete. There you go.
sport athlete. Yeah, it's definitely fun. I loved playing volleyball, but so the reason why I like didn't really go the volleyball route was because when I entered middle school, I kind of like my brother was a big part of like developing my game basketball wise, and he would take me constantly to go work out, and I had kind of fell in love and was like, oh, I want to play at like the Division 1 level. I want to play at the highest level. I had no clue what that really meant back then. I just knew I was like, I want to play at the highest level. So my brother, knowing more, was like, okay, okay, but it's gonna take a lot and you're gonna have to work out like every day. So I'm like, okay. So some in the beginning, it was like most of the time it was him dragging me out because I was like, okay, like, why do we need to go work out every day? Like, this is so much, but because I didn't understand, honestly. And then towards like after years, he was like, okay, I'm not gonna ask you to work out. It's like if you want
Right.
you tell me and we'll go, like, no problem. And that's when it kind of like shifted where I was like, oh, okay, like if I want to be good, I need to get Umber in the gym and we have to go every day. So my mind, I kind of made it up. Like I made my mind up that I wanted to play basketball in junior high. So that's kind of why I stuck with it. But I didn't my it's kind of funny because my dad wanted me to play volleyball in college. My dad was like, he
Wow.
wanted
Okay.
yeah. So he was actually like 'cause when the coaches would call my high school coach, she would tell me, and she's like, what do you want me to say? Like, do you want me to just tell them, "Oh, you're not interested, you're gonna play basketball?" And my dad was like, "Why don't you give them a chance? Like, you know, talk to them, you know, you never know." And I was always like, "No, I wanna play basketball." And it's kind of funny, the reason he was, like, all about volleyball was because I was a twig, like, I was skinny. I was, like, 6 foot, 100 and freaking 30 pounds, just, like
The
stick.
stick.
So he was, like he was concerned about me going to play college at the next level because he was like, "You're just gonna get, like, beat up." I thought that's kinda cute coming from my dad, he's like, "Break that little girl," but I was like, you know, like, I don't wanna play volleyball in college, I wanna play basketball. That's always a funny story we share 'cause, there was a time I had, like, a tournament for volleyball in LA, and it was just me and my dad, my mom couldn't make it for some reason, and I remember calling my mom, like, "Mom, like, dad's not stopping, he keeps telling me, like, oh, what about" I'm like, "No, I don't wanna play volleyball," so but, you know, it all
That's
worked
cute,
out.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, shout out to your dad for trying to protect you. I respect it.
yeah,
And then shout out to your brother because that's cool. You know that he really helped you get there. And then that transition of like trying to understand like what it takes to get from high school to D1 and like you realizing that you have to wake yourself up or you have to do this, you have to pull him to the gym as opposed to the opposite. I think that's like so important that he like helped you.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't understand that.
Mhm.
No, that's amazing. Okay, so as we keep going, that's the high school side. So I got another question because this is a I'm sure a lot of people will be curious about this and how it happens. So you play high school, you have some good seasons, some good years. When does it really click for you that you can go like do you have the ability to go play at the next level? And then can you like explain that process of getting maybe some of those offers and then picking your first school?
Yeah. So honestly, so my freshman year was kind of rough in high school because our team, we weren't great. Like we didn't do very well. And I was a freshman on varsity, so I was really young, and that was just a whole challenging year. I think I grew a lot like in that year. Um, so I just continued like working out and playing and playing and travel. I don't think freshman year it hit me that I had a chance to really play Division 1 because again, I'm at the end of the day, I was really just, like, working out and trying, like, my best to do well in games. It was my sophomore year, after my sophomore year of high school, so my brother had come back, he had just finished playing college basketball, so my freshman year, he wasn't around, he was out in Missouri. So after he was done, he came back home, and he actually was our assistant high school coach, so he was there
Nice.
the rest of my high school career, um, which very thankful for him, because he helped me a lot through those high school years, and just play also was my coach for travel. So, like, he's
He's
the
everywhere.
yeah, he really is everywhere. So he was my assistant high school coach and travel coach, and so after the end of my high school season, like, sophomore year, he actually, like, using Huddle, he made me a little a highlight tape.
Yeah, a mix.
Yeah, a little highlight thing, 'cause where he was just trying to help me get there, and what I did was I emailed a lot of coaches my sophomore and junior year. So, for me, being from Turlock and being from the Central Valley, like, our travel program didn't really match up to the intensity and, like, competition of the teams in the Bay Area, down south, like, from everywhere else. It wasn't comparing. So we would get our butts whooped. Like, we'd go to these tournaments, we're getting our butts whooped, and that's just how it was, and so really wasn't getting much exposure, and then obviously high school, my team wasn't like a state champion team. We made the playoffs and pretty much got knocked out every single time. That's just how it was, like, we were not it was a public school, that's what we were. Um, so I actually had to do a lot of, like, reaching out and contacting people because I wasn't being exposed. I started going to some, like, elite camp, and I think that's when I started, like, getting a little bit more, like, you know, coaches seeing me and, like, kind of putting
Right.
my name down and thinking, "Oh, let's go watch her play." So junior year, my high school that was probably my best high school season, and I emailed again, same thing, literally emailing all these coaches, hoping to hear back from them, and I did, and I got invited to camps, so I would go to all these camps, and it wasn't until the summer going into my senior year, I had gone to this camp, and it was I don't remember the name of it, but it was like this elite camp, and I was kinda there was this girl, her name was, Kira DaCosta, and, like, she was, like, one of the top 5 I think top 5 recruits of our 2018 class. She ended up going to Baylor, and, like, that was her freshman year was the year they won the national championship. So, like,
Wow.
her
Okay.
and I remember, like, we were, like, going at it, and it was really fun. Like, it was, like, just fun getting to play against, like, high level girls and just, see where you kinda stand. And I think that camp, I'm really grateful for it because there was a coach there that had reached out to, my travel coach, the team I played for my last travel season, and was like, "Hey, like, you gotta get this girl on your team, like, you gotta like, she's pretty good." So he reached out, we got that all figured out, I played for this Adidas Gauntlet team, and that was, like, a really big difference playing from Stanco
That's
was
a huge team.
oh, yeah. So Stanco was my home team, weren't very, like, good, and then I played for the Adidas Gauntlet, all these like, events where you get exposure, and, like, my stock rise, like, way more because I was getting exposed and I was playing with like these high level basketball players, and that was honestly a really fun experience for me. So for me, my journey is truly different compared to like anyone I've ever played with. Like all of my teammates at 3 different schools, like it's kind of funny. Like all of my teammates are like, yeah, like state champ, like their resume from high school is like state championship,
Right.
all this, and I'm like, oh, we were not good. Like, and I don't mean that in a terrible way, but it's just the truth. I didn't win one single high school like league championship, let alone like a state championship. So like I'm always like, dang, like everybody was just like on some great high school teams. Everyone played for these really talented AAU teams. Like I had to send my film out and like do all of that, and it ended up working out honestly for me. So that
No,
was
that's
kind of
amazing. I think
yeah.
that's another cool thing about your journey, right? Like, yeah, from the grind of to reach now and to your by yourself,
Brilliant.
right? But then also like seizing your opportunity of, you're at this camp and you have this opportunity and you don't even know it probably at that time, but you just started cooking. I'm assuming, going head to head with this girl, right? And like that's all it takes is that one opportunity, that one person to like see you and make that phone call. I think
Mhm.
that's like that's tough.
Mhm.
What you did, but it's like it shows that like you just need that one opportunity to make it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then UC Davis, they were my first. I won't forget, they were my first offer, so that was really fun. Yeah.
Okay. So do you remember like was there like a lot of offers? Did you only have a couple?
I ended up having, I think it was 14, offers.
Danish.
Yeah.
Double
So,
digit offers. Let's go. There you go.
yeah, it was
Okay, so you ended up at Pacific.
mhm.
Walk me through that real quick. Like why, compared to all the other schools, did you pick Pacific?
So, I'm gonna just preface by saying being a 17-year-old girl and having to choose, like, a freaking university to play at is absolutely insane. I really just think about, like, that is so crazy, like, the whole recruiting process is just wild, like, you're really just having to, like, take a leap of faith and hope you pick the right school.
Right.
So obviously from the offers that I had, from conversations I would like make a chart, do pros and cons, kind of eliminate the ones I knew I didn't want to go to. Then I'd shorten the list. And then I kind of got to like a top 7 that I liked and thought would be good. Then got it to a top 5, and I scheduled 5 official visits, and Pacific was the first one. And then I had GCU, SMU, Denver, and Buffalo. So those were the 5 visits I had scheduled. I ended up only taking 3 of them. So after my first visit with Pacific, there was just something like that felt right. Like I don't know what it was. Like it was kind of just more of a gut feeling. Like after I had that first the Pacific visit, I honestly felt like I could have committed right then and there, but a part of me was like, "No, you worked really hard, like, give the other schools a chance, like, give yourself an opportunity to check out the other schools." So did that, and then after the first visit, because I felt so good, I actually canceled 2 of them. So I canceled the Denver
Wow.
one, I canceled the Buffalo one, which I will say was something later on I regret, simply because you work so hard, like, you work so hard to kinda get those offers, get those visits, and I wish I would have just taken them just to see,
Just to
like,
see.
because I could have always still chosen Pacific at the end, but I
Right.
didn't take them. So that was, like, my one thing was, like, I wish I would have just gone ahead and done it for the experience, seen it, checked it out, and then made my decision. But at the end of the day, I'm always someone who says, like, things will happen the way they will, like, everything happens for a reason. So I'm don't, like, regret it completely, but it's like I wish I would have done that back then. But, yeah, after the Pacific visit, it went really well. I went to SMU, I think, after, and then I think my last one was GCU or whichever it was, and then when it came down to deciding, you just kinda go with what you feel is best, like, I thought I had a good chance an opportunity to play there as a freshman, which was, like, one thing that was huge for me. I really wasn't looking to go somewhere where, I wouldn't have an opportunity to, so I
Right.
knew
You
there
wanted minutes to develop and play.
which, minutes are never guaranteed, but I was kinda just looking like, "Okay, where do I have a chance and shot to
Yeah.
actually kinda play and impact the team?" So, um, I went there and honestly, again, like I don't regret anything that I did. Like I feel just everything happens for a reason, and that's what's led me to be here today, like at Sac State, and have had the season like we just did. So that was
No, it's
kind of
amazing.
yeah.
So you played 2018 and 2021. You played like 81 career games. You also played during the weirdness of COVID,
Gosh, yeah.
which was probably insane for you. You also had like a lot of crazy games, like a lot of like 19 points, like a lot of high double digit point games. So it seemed like
Mm,
overall it worked out like pretty solid. And also like I
mm.
said, got you to where you need to be with Sac State. Could you kind of walk us a little bit through the COVID season, like how weird that was and like how that affected you?
It sucked. It really sucked. Uh, so again, it's already a shortened season, and I actually missed the first 3 games. So we only had 3 preseason like games, only 3 of them, and I missed all 3 of them. So like when I came in to play, it was straight like conference play, which is just really weird to have your first game be against like a WCC opponent. So yeah, I missed those first 3. I didn't have COVID, but it was like based on contact tracing. So had to sit out. Like the rules
Oh
were
man.
super
Yeah.
intense. Like they were so strict, and I remember being so mad because I was like, I don't have it. Like I've tested so many times. Like I just want to play. Yeah. That truly sucked a lot because my mental health, like, that year was pretty poor. I also kinda, like I didn't live with any teammates. I had lived with I remember it was a tennis player, but, like, I think halfway through the semester, she had went home because, like, it was a lot for her as well, like, the whole so she was from a different country too, so far from home and not being able to see them, she had gone. So I practically lived by myself and in isolation. So that was a really
Oh,
rough time, and I needed a change. I needed to get away. Like I really needed a change of like scenery, environment after that season. So
I'm
yeah.
just curious, like, 'cause a lot of people in general and athletes deal with the mental health side, which I think a lot of people don't understand because it's just tough, right?
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah.
during that season, or maybe even just during your career in general, like, I'm sure you may have faced certain things. Like, what do you do if you're struggling mentally?
Yeah. So I'm at this so very mental health. I don't know if you kind of missed out on Instagram, but I am pretty vulnerable in sharing like a little bit of my story, but I had seen a therapist, like, using the school caps, because it's paid for when you have like, through your tuition. So my freshman year, I remember my athletic trainer was like, "Hey, Kay, like, why don't you try, maybe give it a shot?" And at first, I was kinda like, "Yo, why is she telling me to go to somebody? I'm fine, I don't need that." And then one random day, I don't really know why, but I was like, "You know what? I'll give it a shot." I had gone one time, and it wasn't terrible. It wasn't, like, anything bad. I was like, "Okay," like, that wasn't bad. Like, it was kinda nice to talk to somebody, like, just, random who doesn't know anything about you. Um, and I didn't go back for, like, a couple months just because I was like, I don't really feel the need to." Then I was kinda struggling again, and I was like, "You know what? Let me go again." And I started going. So my freshman year, I started going and I saw the same lady for the course of those 3 years I was at Pacific. Um, Utah State, again, I was seeing somebody there, and that was probably my toughest year, I would say, like, mentally. Like, that was a really, hard time for me. I was adjusting to, like, a different state. Obviously, like, I'm a California girl, like, so I'm used to the warm weather, like,
Big change.
adjusting to weather, like, there aren't a lot of people out there that look like me there either, so that's a huge change. So it was a lot for me and obviously some other factors, and I had a rough time there, so I was seeing someone there. So yeah, mental health is a big, big deal for me. I always encourage people to reach out to the people they love or, a therapist. This year I haven't talked to someone, but I was from last year. I actually got on some antidepressants, which I now have got off of, but it's been a challenge. Like it's definitely hard. It's not easy. And someone like who had to deal with depression, like it's truly it's difficult. Like, it's really hard, and that's why I, like, am grateful to have been able to come here and kinda turn that around for myself, so yeah.
So first of all, like, thank you for sharing all that because, like, obviously, as you know, within society and just within our culture, like, it's a huge stigma or it's a taboo thing to talk about. But again, so many of us deal with it, and it's something that gets swept under the rug. And thank you for like just being an advocate and telling people like, "Yo, it's fine to go do this. It's fine
Right,
to say you have an issue and to talk to someone about it because it clearly has helped you
right.
in many ways." So, and just continuing with that, you obviously maybe still facing certain things. Like, how important is it for you? Obviously, it's a silly question, but how important is it for you to have like a strong support system? And like, is it your family? Is it your brother? Is it friends nearby?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I didn't tell nobody in my family, like, when I'm talking about freshman year, sophomore year, I didn't really tell anyone that I was seeing like, in my family that I was seeing someone, just because I was like, "It's not a big deal, I'm fine, whatever, whatever." But then I think one time my mom had called me. So my mom FaceTimes me every day. Shout out mama. Um, she FaceTimes me every day and for the past 5 years. And the one time I think she knows me like inside and out. I think she was like, "How are you? You sound like you're
She
not okay."
knew.
Yeah, she knew. She knew something was up and I was like, "Yeah." I was like, I'm okay. I have a meeting." She's like, "With who? We're going and doing." And I'm like, and I was like, So I just ended up, like, telling her, and, it was truly fine, like, she was like, "Oh," like, "Okay," like, obviously she was concerned 'cause she's like, "What's happening that you need to see someone?" Like, was
Did
wanting
it?
to be there for me, and I was like, "Honestly, like, I'm good." Like, it's just really nice to talk to someone, and I think as far as, like, this thing goes, I'm like, my parents are pretty, like, they're pretty chill. They were just more concerned about, like, "Are you okay?" Like, you know, like, "Is there anything we need to know?" And my sister, it's kind of funny, my sister is, like, a counselor, so she was doing, like, in school for that, and now she's, like, a counselor at an elementary school, so she's literally that's her job. So she's
Right.
super, like, she's also very much, like, an advocate because that's her job, like, so she was understanding. And as far as me kind of just being vulnerable and opening up about my story, because I would say after I graduated from Utah State, I shared this post on my Instagram that kind of just doesn't go into details, but was kind of just like I graduated, but here's like what I went through and here's how I did it. Like it took a lot for me to get here. And I obviously like was nervous to share that because some of it my parents like didn't know. And like I'm gonna say it now, but like so trigger warning, but like I almost wanted to end my life like in my sophomore year of college. And I had put that in the post. And I like didn't put any details, but of course before I was gonna share it, I wanted like my family to read that, and they all read it, and they were super, like they just gave me a big old hug, welcomed me with arms, and, um, were supportive of me and asked the only thing they asked me was, "Are you comfortable sharing this, like, on Instagram?" Because obviously once you do that, everyone's gonna know they might, like, ask you questions, "Are you comfortable?" And I was like, "I'm comfortable. Like, this is my story. This is what happened, and people just should know, like, it's not freaking easy, and this is what it took me to get here." And honestly, it's a big shout out to Rachel Baribeau. I met her last year at Utah State. She is a part of this program called I'm Changing the Narrative, and I literally wear the bracelet every day. Yeah, it says I'm Changing the Narrative.
Nice.
She actually came and spoke to all of the Utah State athletes, which is how I met her. And she's kind of the one who like was brave enough to share her story, and it kinda made me feel like if she can do it, like, I wanna share my story. I wanna help people who might not feel comfortable in, like, admitting that they have things going on, and, like and honestly, from all of the times that I've ever posted anything, like, I feel good about it because I can see, like, sometimes they don't comment on it, but they're, like, DMing and messaging me and just saying, like, "Thank you for sharing this. I've been going through this," and then I'm able to kinda help them, and that's what it's all about. Like, I just want people to know, like, you're not alone, like, everyone goes through it, you're okay. You don't have to share about it, but like reach out. I'm always here. There's other people that are always there for you. So that's just kind of been my journey.
Thank you for being you. Thank you for being strong. Like honestly, like hearing this stuff, like it gives me goosebumps. And it's like it's important.
Mhm.
It's important that you're here with us. It's important that you're sharing the story. It's why you did that. Because like you said, a lot of people may not like that post or comment it. They may have just seen it and it's helped them. Or like said they DM'd you and you're helping them. And I feel
Mhm.
like that's so important because like again, just no one's talking about it. So I just want to say it one more time, like thank you for being you
Yeah.
and just being strong throughout the whole process because it's huge.
Thank you.
Um, to keep going through your amazing journey, with the basketball side first,
Mhm.
Pacific, you hop over to Utah State. Kind of talked about it a little bit. The weather's obviously not that nice. It's more like Canada weather, so I could probably do better in Utah than you.
Yeah.
Um, but you were the second leading scorer as a senior. Started 29 games, averaged almost 33 minutes a game, like 11.9 points, 4.9 rebounds. I got all kind of stats in front of me. The one stat I really want to bring up is it seems like something that's consistent throughout all of your schools you played for throughout your careers. You're super consistent from the free throw line, and you also can knock down threes.
Yeah.
So I'll send this back to you first and say, if I had to ask you like what's your strongest skill set or what's your strongest ability on court, like what would you say it is?
It's kind of funny because I mean, yeah, it's pretty consistent. I'd shoot a lot of threes at every single year, but like I don't really consider myself a shooter. Like I'm not just like someone who's like a knockdown shooter. I feel like what my strength is my like my length for one. I'm a tall guard, um, so my ability to be able to like knock down a shot. It helps me get to the basket because I can throw a little pump fake and then get by and go to the basket. Um, I'm also pretty I didn't really utilize this too much this year, but, like, I do love my mid-range game. I would say at Pacific and, like, Utah State, I did a lot more of a mid-range game, but I just think that my biggest strength is I do have the ability to score at all 3 levels, so, yeah.
Do you have either an NBA or a WNBA like comparison or someone that's like, yo, my game's like that?
A comparison? I'd have to think about that one.
And as you're thinking about it, is there someone that you've idolized growing up in the basketball world?
Oh, well, my favorite player on the NBA side is Stephen Curry. I
Okay.
I have been a fan of his since I was, like, so little. What it's kind of funny because I liked him when he was, like I don't wanna say he was never a nobody, but, like, when he was just, like, early on with the Warriors, like, even when he was, like, a
Right.
backup to Monte Ellis, like, I just remember this is gonna be funny, but, like, I remember watching him as a little girl, seeing that he shot threes when I was a young girl. All I wanted to do was just shoot threes, like, I didn't do anything else, and that's all I wanted to do, so, one, I was like, "Ooh, he shoots a lot of threes, I like him," like, and he's making all of them. Second thing was I was like, "Oh, he's cute, I like him," and that is how he became my favorite player. So,
And
like
that sums up how most like girls think about Stephen Curry, which is fair.
yeah, so, like, that I would say, yeah, that
Okay. No, I love that. Um, I'm gonna let you think about the other question. If you find someone, great. If you don't think of someone, that's all good.
mhm.
Um, but obviously now going from Utah to Sac State, I don't know if you can say why or talk about that a little bit, but that's another, I guess, transfer portal and kind of going to this, finals year of eligibility, final school, final opportunity. Like, what got you there, and how did you end up at Sac State?
So kinda just, like, why I chose Sac State or, like
I guess first is yeah. Why don't you just tell us why you chose Sac State?
okay. Well, I mean, so after Utah State, I was obviously deciding, like, am I gonna play? Because I had, like, my whole senior night deal there. Then afterwards, I was like, "Okay, I wanna" well, one thing that made a difference was I wanted to come back home. I wanted to come back to California. I knew that with my 5th year, I got my undergrad degree at Utah State, and I wanted to pursue a teaching credential. And a teaching credential has so much with it, and like I wanted to kind of get that in California because like in order to teach in California, it's just way easier if you get your credential done at a school in California. So that was like kind of a big thing was I wanted to go somewhere that had a teaching credential program. Preferably that was in California, but at the end of the day, my main thing I wanted to do was I wanted to win. I wanted to win and I wanted to have a chance to play in the NCAA tournament and I wanted to have an impact. So, um, Mark actually, like our head coach, Mark, he recruited me pretty hard. And obviously, you probably don't know, but my old teammate from Pacific, Leona Tillman, we both transferred out of Pacific the same year. She went to Sac State. I went to Utah State. So she ended up at Sac State. She was a year older than I was. So that was her 5th year that she was playing. She was the Big Sky MVP, like player of the year, first team, all of that. They were 3-14 or some 3 and like I don't know what, but they only won 3 games prior. She came and they won 14 games.
Wow.
And she was my teammate. So when I was in the portal, I think he kind of was like looking like, oh, like this dear teammate, she's in the portal, got my number from her. And he recruited me pretty hard. And he actually made an effort to fly out to Salt Lake City and drove down to Logan and met with me for one day, like one night for a dinner, just to talk and see each other in person. Cause it is different being with someone like in person. You can kind of get the vibe from
Absolutely.
them versus on the phone. It's different. So like he went out of his way to do that. And that was a lot. And something that was really comforting was knowing that my teammate had played for him just the past season. I was able to ask her, all of those questions that, a player wants to know before getting into a program. Like, how's the culture? How is he as a coach? Does he stick to his word? Like all of those things. And all of it was checking out. So that was really helpful for me to have had like Tilly go play for him.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And obviously you had quite the season at Sac State. We covered a lot of it on ground ballers, but I got a bunch of questions. But the first thing I want to ask you is like, how was that season for you? Like it's your fifth year. I'm sure there's tons of emotions, tons of things you're going through. But then on top of that, it ended up being like a pretty like triumphant season towards the end. So can you just give us just some context on how it went for you this year?
I mean, yeah, I couldn't have asked for a better way to end my collegiate career. Like, I would say the girls, the team, like, we are a family, we're a unit. And that's something that's hard. Like, it's something that's also not talked about a lot, but every coach kind of says, like, we're a family. But um,
Okay.
at here, it was like truly, we were close, we all got along. And that was one thing that Mark promised. He said, there's no drama on my teams. Like, I'm of recruiting players that are good, but I'm also recruiting good people. And I believed him. And obviously talking with Liana, she was saying like, yeah, they're like, I think you'll like the girls. I think it'll work out. So that was something that was special because, it's important that you enjoy the people you're around. Like you're going to be around them every day, like for like 8 months in a row. Like it's important that you like them and you can get in. Obviously, you don't have to be best friends with everybody, but you want to make sure that it's a team that you can, be around, get along with, have chemistry. So that was something that was super fun and exciting for me. Um, and I think like in summertime, once we all kind of got there and a couple of weeks and then months in, we all kind of just started realizing like, hey, we can be pretty good. Like we seem to have the pieces, we got what we need. Like, let's go out there and do this. And then it's obviously super helpful. Like our coaching staff, they don't mess around. They're there to win. Like they set the standard and it's like they believe that we can win. And it kind of, rubs off on us as players that, hey, we can win. So, and it's kind of funny. Started the season with a freaking L at home. Um, I think we lost by 1 or 2 points. Like, I think it might have been one. Like, it was like a game winner, and it was rough. Like, I think there was a lot of nerves, a lot of jitters, and it was like, woof, like that was bad. And then we kind of turned it around and went on maybe like what a 7 game win streak, and it was fun. Like the ride was fun, and then I think this season had like kind of everything in it. Like we started out with the L, then we jumped up to win streak. Then we also had like in conference, we had a 3 game like losing streak, and it was all on the road, and that was tough. Like that really tested us and tested me because I've never been on a winning team, like, I've never been on a team that's, like, chasing a actual championship. I've always kinda been like, Utah State, we didn't do so well, we were at the bottom, and every year at Pacific, we kinda finished middle of the pack, like, um, couldn't really get to that, being in in contention for, a potential championship, so all of these games just, like, meant so much more, and it was hard, like, it was hard 'cause, you know, Mark was not he's a resilient coach, I'm so grateful and thankful for that because they knew what we were all capable of, and being in the position as, like, a 5th year senior and someone who's, like, had all this experience, like, the expectation is higher, like, you don't get to have, like, these games where you're, just not
Right.
there, and that was really hard for me because I hadn't had that before, so, like, there were definitely ups and downs, but it was all worth it, like, it was all worth it in the end, like, we were able to accomplish so much, so, yeah.
You guys were definitely like tried and tested. Is that the terminology, tried and tested? I don't know if that's correct, but
I think I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
I know
no.
what you're talking about.
Anyways,
I think
what I'm trying to say is
yeah.
the ups and downs were great because it helped you guys get where you needed to be because you kind of came together. It seemed like right. You guys were super resilient throughout that. Um,
You're me.
the ending. Actually, before we even talk about the Big Sky and kind of like how the season kind of ending for you guys, what does it mean for you, or does it mean something for you to be like that brown baller, like that brown hooper that's playing D1, playing at the high one of the highest levels you can, winning a championship, representing, and having an opportunity for like that next girl coming up or that next boy coming up to be like, oh, like she looks like me and she did it. We have the same last name, whatever the case is, so I can do it also.
Yeah. I think that, like, the first half of my playing career, it didn't I'd say it did much, but I don't think I really thought about it too much.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from the fact that I was like, none of these teams I'm playing have a girl's Indian or, like, a Punjabi girl, like, there's nobody out there besides me, like, I'm the only one. Um, I didn't think too much into it. I would say, honestly, your platform I think also there's another platform, Amazing
Yeah,
Asians,
amazing.
they
Yeah, Pranav. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So I think he posted me before as well, and I think it kinda made me think like, "Oh, what this is pretty cool, like, what I'm doing." Like, not many of us are here, and again, like, through social media, seeing people comment or reach out, like, "Oh, like, this is so cool, keep it up, you're making us all proud." I was like, "Oh," like, I didn't realize people, like, would look up to me like that or, like, in my head, I was kinda like, "Oh, I'm just playing like, I'm just doing what I'm used to," but you kinda forget, like, it's kinda special, like, it's select, really small group of people who play D1 anyway, and then when you look at, like, the demographics, how many of them are, like, not even just, like, Punjabi or brown, but how many of them are Asian, to be honest, not many.
not
So,
many.
I would say that with your platform as well, getting posted and just, like, I think you guys yeah, I think it was one of your guys' posts from maybe last year or something, um, I gained a lot of followers that are, like, our Punjabi and brown
Nice.
followers. I was like, "Whoa," and, like, they were all super supportive. I was like, what is happening?" So, I think that kinda, like, shifted my mindset into thinking, like, it made like, I was already kind of really grateful to be in the position I was, but then it's like, you kinda, like, think about it in a different perspective. And for me, like, one of my favorite quotes by Nipsey Hussle, literally, he's right there,
Shout out Nipsey.
uh,
Yeah.
that is, "The highest human act is to inspire." And, like, I love that because I feel like I'm just in a position to inspire, like, our youth, and I'm so appreciative of it. Like, you should know, like, I love kids. I'm gonna be a teacher possibly, like, or I'm getting my teaching credential. I love kids. Like, my favorite part of being in the position I am is when there's little girls or little boys who are like, "Can we take a picture? Like, you're amazing. I thought you played great." And I'm like, and it's so funny. Like, I can feel like I had a bad game, and there's these little kids that are coming up to
Yeah.
you who want to take a picture, who think you're amazing, and it's like then you have to realize, okay, like, get over yourself, like, this is not about you, this is about, like, the people you're playing for, and, like, I'm in a position to inspire them, so, it's honestly amazing, so
I love that. I just wanted to make sure you understand that you are a huge role model, and like I'm always trying to make sure like the people we bring on or we're showcasing, like I don't. It's interesting because like even growing up, like same thing. Like we don't understand what we're doing to a sense, right? Or we don't know like
Mhm.
anyone's watching us or some kids thinking about us or like, hey mom, like I want to be like this person. But like when you get a little older, except maybe this senior season or our platforms, like it really clicks that yo, like I'm inspiring people. I think like that's a cool feeling to have and to know that you've been able to do it through athletics. And the other funny thing is it's always cool to see like how kids see you play versus how you see yourself play versus your parents versus your coach. Because like the kids don't care. They just see you out there like running, your hair thought like going all over. Like, oh, she looks so cool. Or you shoot the ball and it goes in. It's like, whoa, how'd you do that? It's like I feel like those are good moments because they're so wholesome. And it kind of
Very
like you
cool.
said, it brings you back down to earth.
For
That's
sure.
huge.
100.
Yeah, that's amazing. So Big Sky Champs. Um, First of all, like I said, I'll never know the feeling. So many of us will never know the feeling of playing D1 and being able to win a championship like that because it's a different level. Can you just kind of walk through maybe like the game, the championship game itself, and like the feeling when the buzzer goes up?
So, well, honestly, so like in regular season, we were co-champs, obviously with Montana State and Northern Arizona, and that was like super special because we lost like like we didn't think that we were gonna be the regular season champs because didn't come down to just if we won out, it had to come down to like other teams losing, like they had to lose for us, and it obviously ended up working out as a three-way tie. So after the three-way tie, we ended up being played in the conference tournament and got the third seed. So we're like, all right, like, okay. So when it came down to being us, Northern Arizona, for the championship, I think every single one of us were like, let's go. Like, we're not
We
losing this
got
freaking
this.
game. We lost to them twice in the Big Sky. We lost to them at home. Yeah, we lost them away, and then we played them in overtime and lost by 2. So there was a sour, bitter taste from
Mhm.
that freaking team that we're like, "This is our time." Like, we had been playing our whole, like, mantra and saying the whole season was, "Play your best basketball win in March, in when we're in Boise, Idaho." Like, forget everything else, you play your best basketball while we're in Boise, and first game, we took care of business, second game, we took care of business, it was one more. Like, I think we all understood what that moment was because we've talked about it so much, and nobody wanted this season to end, like, we wanted to play in March Madness, and, like, for me and KD, our point guard, we were both fifth-year seniors, so it was like this was it, like, we either make it to March Madness or we're done right this moment.
Right.
Um, for me, I don't feel like I get nervous too much, probably maybe because I've done it for 5 years, I don't know, but at the end of the day, it is just another basketball game, and it's an opponent we've seen 2 times. So for me, it was like, I want to rip their heads off. Like, I was like, "Dude, they beat us 2 freaking times, like, we are not losing to them in the championship game, I don't care what's going on." Um, Obviously, I had my, like, career's best game in for Sac State in the championship game, which was pretty cool. I don't really know what's going on.
You
I
went
ki
crazy. You were like
I
in a the Hulk. You know, like when he gets blurred out. It's just like you were just going crazy in a good
That's
way.
funny. I don't know. I kinda didn't do anything different. I just let the ball fly and, it went in. So, which is truly, like, the way that the game goes. There's some games that, like, I don't get as many opportunities, like, like, on me and I don't like because my role was kinda like, shoot he had the green light to shoot wide open threes all day long,
Okay.
and for some reason, I kinda got multiple wide open threes and I knocked them in, and so and the way that the game was flowing, like, you could just tell that everyone and every the, like, my teammate faces, like, in our eyes, like, you had, like, our eyes set on one goal, and it was to win. So, like, the energy was just different. Like, it was such a fun game. Like, it was really fun, to be honest. And we had, like, a good amount of people supporting us from, like, family and other fans. So it was, like, really fun.
It is really dope for you to not only end career, like, D1 collegiate career with the championship. But like you said, like also having like a career game like that and like literally being like, yo, like you're obviously a huge part to like that game and the success and like winning, right? I just feel like it's cool because you talked about this at the beginning. Like your story was not a normal story. You didn't win really like any big championships or anything. You weren't like, player of the year, player of the state, like all that kind of stuff. You just kept going, kept hooping, kept improving, and then got this dope opportunity at Sac State. And then lo and behold, you finished with a Big Sky championship, a crazy game, and like a bid to the to March Madness.
Yeah, as
That's
soon as
insane.
it is insane. As soon as the freaking so, like, obviously, towards the last few minutes, like, it was getting to the point where, like, "Okay, close the game out. Hurry, like, hurry." We just wanted it to end because 'cause we're like, "Bro, we're gonna win." Like, there was no thought of, like, we're
Yeah.
gonna lose the game. And then, obviously, like, I think maybe the last 20 seconds, like, we just kinda started smile like, we couldn't help but smile during the game, and then it ended, and we're just all running together, like, oh my god. And then, like, probably a minute later, I'm just bawling my eyes out. I couldn't contain like, I was like, "Dude, this is crazy." It's just so much, like I said, the journey, like, it's so much that happens, and then to know you finally I'm gonna start crying right now, no, like, it was like
Let it
and
flow, let it flow.
my parents were there, like, they are so supportive, like, they had hardly missed anything, like, of course, they didn't like the away games that are in different states, and, like, when I was at Utah State, they couldn't make most of them, but any game that they could be at, they were there, like, and that's been like that since I began playing, like, since I was young. So, like, they were there and, like, just the moment I give my mom and dad a hug, I'm, like, bawling my freaking eyes out, and I'm, like, be like I was like, "Get it together." So that, like, I probably will never forget, like, that moment. I don't think I will ever forget that moment in my life. So, yeah.
That's definitely a once in a lifetime experience. And obviously, so shout out to your parents. And I want to
Mhm.
ask you a question about your parents
Yeah.
because it goes so many different ways, right? When you have a kid in athletics and they're playing basketball and they're doing all this stuff, like obviously the path less traveled is what you kind of took in a sense. The path normally traveled is like, yo, like basketball is cool, but you need to cut it off at this point and focus on studies type thing. So how like your parents are supportive. They're a lot of your games, probably almost all of them, like you said, except for some road games. Obviously, I know that means a lot to you to have that support of your family, but are your parents just that cool? Or like, what's the difference? Because I need to know, like, and people need to know, like, what makes your parents so supportive of you to like just chase your dreams and your passion to go play at this level for 5 years.
Well, they're just supportive, like, they want what's gonna make us happy, like, my brother, my sister, and me, even, like, with them going to college so my brother, he played at a junior college, so he started out his career playing at JC, came to Stanislaus, which is in Turlock, and then he had 1 year left to play, and he took a leap of faith and went all the way to Missouri, so, like, obviously, for my mom and dad, like, my mom was like, "Oh my god, like, Missouri? Like, you're gonna be out there on your own?" I'm sure she probably had her, like, fears for that because like, that's his first time being super far from home, but at the end of the day, it's like, it's what he wanted to do, and they were gonna support him no matter what, like, wherever it was gonna be in the United States, like, whether it was gonna be 20 minutes from home or, like, across the country. So, they never like, all they want is for us to be happy and doing things, like, the right way, like, you know? So, in terms of even, like, going to college, my sister didn't she, was done playing basketball after high school, so she just went into college pursuing, like, her career, um, and it was never like, "Oh, you need to do something in the medical field," like, I know, like, something like which is kinda like the, like, brown people go, "Be a
Yeah,
doctor,"
yeah,
whatever. It was never that. It was like, do what you wanna do. And it's like, you can see that my brother is a teacher. He's an 8th grade math teacher. My sister is a school counselor in elementary. I'm getting my teaching credential. They're just happy that we're doing stuff that we're happy with and we're getting our education. That was their main thing.
yeah,
Get your education and, like, we're happy. So they're very supportive, and then obviously for my situation, like, playing sports and the opportunities that that brought was new for all of us. Nobody in my family has ever done it. So that was like a new thing, but they've been to all the games. They knew what I was
yeah.
capable of, and they were like, "Yeah, go do it. Like, this is your
Shout out,
life."
yeah. No, shout out to your parents for just like I said, because it's so simple, right? Like it's just being supportive and like, Kaylin, if you're happy, we're happy. It's like such a simple thing. And but it goes so far, right? Because like look what you've done in the last like 5 years with your life. So that's huge for them.
Yeah.
What actually before I ask that question, did you ever think about going pro? Like is that was that a thing that was on the table or no?
Yeah, so actually I'm in a position right now where I don't think
Oh,
I'm ready to hang
here
up basketball shoes just yet.
there we go.
Um, so I'm actually like in a position where my teaching credential program isn't done until December. So I haven't fully decided what I'm going to do yet because I know most of the time like players are kind of shipped out overseas like in October-ish. Um, I'm kind of like at this crossroads where I'm so close to being done, like completely done with my school, and I would never go back to school ever again because, like, just 5 years, I'm done. 5.5 years actually it would be. So I'm like, all right, like I'm ready to be done with it. But at the same time, I don't necessarily want to miss an opportunity to go play overseas. So stay tuned. Stay tuned because I don't know what I'm doing yet,
Okay.
but I know that I am not necessarily like ready to hang up the shoes quite yet.
See, this is why we gotta start an India Rising women's team because there's a
Ye
couple of y'all out there. We need to like, find these leagues and be able to put y'all together to play because there's so many of you that want to do that are doing amazing things like this. So,
Right.
anyways, congrats. Hopefully you do get that opportunity and maybe you do take it.
Mm.
It would be cool to see you play at a different level, but obviously there's a lot of other things coming your way, like real life, which is hitting because you've finished your college, your college life.
I know. I'm not ready.
Yeah, yeah. I would assume there's probably a little bit of fear there, um, just stepping away from that, but also like a lot of positives because hopefully you won't have to like study and take exams much longer, unless you enjoy doing that though. Yeah. Okay. Most
I
athletes.
wanna teach. I wanna teach the next generation. I am done learning. I'm done being the student. I wanna be the teacher now, so I'm ready for that.
No, I love that. So look, if you end up breaking it, I'm gonna have if you end up going to play pro, I'm gonna bring you back on here. We're gonna do a quicker version of this, and we're gonna talk about that because I think that'd be really cool to like find a way to follow and document what you're doing
Mhm.
next if you end up playing pro. But I really appreciate you coming on. You were like super vulnerable, like for almost like the whole episode, which I genuinely appreciate. And I think everyone listening will appreciate. And again, like just thank you for being you and like being authentic and like being wanting to talk about this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
thank you for having me. This was really fun.
no, I like honestly, like I said, anytime. I'll leave it with actually you technically already said a quote from Nipsey, but I'll put you on the spot. You also didn't tell me your NBA comparison, but maybe you don't have one, so I'll leave that. And
I'll
then
say Paul George. I don't know. I've heard people say that
okay,
before, so I don't know. Paul George, yeah.
okay, that's good. That's fair.
It's
Um,
wild.
Normally I like ask people like, yo, what's a piece of advice that you want to give to like that next generation of just brown ballers coming up, like whether it's sports, athletics, whether they want to be creative or whether they want to be a teacher, like just doing something that's not technically normal within our culture. Like, what's a piece of advice that you'd want to give them?
Honestly, I would say set a goal. Set a goal for yourself and chase it and try and eliminate like any and all distractions that are preventing you from getting there. That's something I learned early on was um if there's going to be distractions, like how can you eliminate those? And I always like to say like it's not really about proving like others wrong, it's about proving yourself right. Like you don't need to prove others wrong, just prove yourself right and then remove the doubt. Like that's all it is. Remove any doubt and go do it. There's nothing stopping you. The only people that can stop you is yourself. So
Facts. There you have it. Kaylin Randhawa. If you don't follow on Instagram, it'll pop up here. It'll be in the description. Follow her journey. Kaylin, again, thank you so much for coming on.
yes, thank you very much. Love you all.